Greetings, Health TV. This video was created from an article on our health website. I'll drop the link to the article in the description box. After watching, please ensure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. And please come back for more.
Today,
See
we're
you
going to
soon.
talk about the science behind something called ovulation induction. Think of it as a medical helping hand for so many people on their path to starting a family. So, are you trying to conceive, but your body's timing feels, well, completely unpredictable? If you're dealing with irregular or even absent cycles, that journey can feel really stressful and uncertain. I want you to know you are absolutely not alone. It's a super common challenge, and we're about to explore one of the key medical solutions. Okay, let's dive into the ovulation puzzle. You know, to really get how the treatment works, we first have to understand the incredible rhythm your body is supposed to follow naturally. I want you to think of your cycle as a perfectly timed messaging system, kind of like a chain of command. It all starts up in the brain, which sends out a signal called GnRH. That signal travels to the pituitary gland, which then shoots out two key hormones, you might have heard of them, FSH and LH. These are the messengers that tell the ovaries, hey, it's time to get an egg ready. FSH helps a follicle grow, and then a big surge in LH is the final go-ahead that triggers the release of that mature egg. When this whole system works smoothly, ovulation happens like clockwork. So what is ovulation induction then? It's pretty simple, really. It's a medical treatment that's designed to step in when that messaging system we just talked about gets a little off track. It uses very specific medicines to encourage the ovaries to do their job, mature, and release an egg. But why do those signals get crossed in the first place? Let's take a look at some of the most common reasons ovulation can become irregular or even just stop happening altogether. When you see a doctor, they're going to investigate a whole range of things. This could be hormonal imbalances like you see with PCOS or thyroid problems. It could even be things like major stress or really intense exercise, which can cause a condition called functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, or FHA for short. Sometimes it's an issue with the ovaries themselves, maybe due to something like primary ovarian insufficiency or simply natural age-related changes. And you'll notice PCOS is right up top there, and for good reason. It is one of the single most frequent diagnoses behind irregular cycles. It often involves hormone imbalances that directly interfere with that whole ovulation process. But here's the good news. Once a cause is identified, there are some highly effective tools that can help. So let's get to the good stuff, the medications that can help get this process back on track. Okay, now this is probably the most crucial point in this entire explainer, so listen up. These are powerful medicines. And for them to be both safe and effective, they absolutely must be prescribed and carefully monitored by a doctor, someone who understands you and your specific health situation. This is not a journey to try and figure out on your own. So here's some of the go-to medications. You have oral tablets, like letrozole and clomiphene, that basically work by tricking the brain into producing more of its own follicle-stimulating hormone. Or, for a more direct approach, FSH can be given as an injection to stimulate the ovaries straight away. And of course, it's so important to be aware of potential side effects, which your doctor will go over with you. This is just another key reason why having a medical professional watching over you is so critical. And this just shows you that treatment is definitely not one size fits all. In fact, if the real root cause is something like insulin resistance from PCOS or high levels of a hormone called prolactin, your doctor might prescribe a totally different medication, like metformin or cabergoline, to tackle that underlying issue head-on. So what does this whole process actually look like? Let's walk through the typical treatment journey, step by step, just to demystify it a little. Okay, so the journey kicks off with some initial tests to pinpoint exactly what's going on. Then, you'll start your prescribed medication right at the beginning of your cycle. Next up is careful monitoring. It's called follicle tracking, where they use ultrasounds to literally watch the eggs grow. It's pretty cool. Once a follicle is mature, a trigger shot might be used to time ovulation down to the hour. Your doctor then gives you the precise window for trying to conceive. And finally, you might get some progesterone support to help prepare the uterus. Every single step is personalized and guided by your medical team.
All right, let's talk about supplements for a second. You've probably seen a lot about them online, right? It is so vital to understand their role and what they can and can't do.
And honestly, the distinction here is crystal clear. Prescription medicines are the primary treatment. They are backed by strong scientific evidence, and their direct goal is to induce ovulation. End of story. Supplements, like inositol or vitamin D, which some people with PCOS find helpful, are best thought of as supportive care. The evidence for them is often way less clear, and they are not, I repeat, not a replacement for medical treatment from your doctor.
So the most important takeaway here is really one of hope.
Navigating fertility stuff can feel incredibly isolating, but there are effective, safe, and medically guided options available that can help restore your body's natural rhythm.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. If any of this resonated with you, if it felt familiar, well, maybe the next step is simply starting a new conversation with your doctor to explore what options might be right for you.
Please subscribe.